Hey guys, welcome back to Shop Life. Today we're going to be doing a DIY on how to replace this stock sport steering wheel on the E46 with this M3 wheel. So this one, I actually already have a DIY on the channel for removing E46 steering wheels, but that DIY is for the standard steering wheel and not the sport package one. So the sport package one, we're going to be replacing it with this M3 wheel. The airbag is the same for both, so we're going to reuse this airbag, and you can also reuse these controls. The only thing that's actually different is the thickness of the wheel, the grips, as well as this trim that goes right here. As you can see, this is a solid trim, and this one has a hole right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and remove the steering wheel. First things first, you're going to need long, skinny screwdrivers. So I'm using a flathead, and I have this Phillips. You can use two flatheads. You don't have to worry about screws. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in at an angle on the top of the steering wheel. Our goal is, like, you see these springs right here? We're trying to get these springs, we're trying to just push them in so that the airbag pops out. This side, someone already broke the spring off. But as you can see, you have to go in at an angle from up here. See this hole? It's on the back of the steering wheel. You got to get it at an angle so you can get on the spring itself and try to compress the spring. And then once you compress the spring like that, you see how it's moving? That will release the airbag. Alright, so what you want to do, you want to find that hole, get your screwdriver in there, wiggle it around until you feel that spring catch. You can see how it's pushing it back out once I push it in. Try to pull on the airbag a little bit once you have that out. And I do recommend make sure you unplug your battery. Just the negative terminal is fine. If you don't, your airbag light will come on only if you put it to accessory mode when there's no airbag on the car. Besides that, I mean, it's not going to come on, but it's rather to be safe than sorry. Got one side released. Now we've got both out. Alright. So now that we have that out, we're going to release the connectors for the airbag. As you can see, this is a dual stage airbag. What you want to use is like a pick or a very, very skinny screwdriver, flathead, and just pry up on it very, very gently. Just like that. Once that tab pops up, then you can pull this out. Just like that. Same with this other one. Alright, now that you have that out, that's the airbag. We're going to be reusing this airbag. Now what we have to do is we're going to go ahead and disconnect these cables right here. Just a push pin on the top. And this one just pulls out. Just like that. So this one pulls out, it's on the right, and this is the push pin right here. You just push it down the tab and then you pull it out. Now we're going to go ahead and remove this bolt right here. This is a 16mm bolt. Your best bet is to try to use the impact. You can use a normal socket wrench as well. You have to hold the steering wheel really tight and then just loosen it out. There's that. Now you have to pull the steering wheel out. So what I would recommend, just thread this on just a few threads. That way when you're pulling on it, you don't hit yourself in the face. And then just tap it out. Just like that. Now go ahead and loosen it back up, and it comes right out. Alright, so now if you're going to be swapping over the clock spring or anything like that onto your new wheel, or like your controls or whatever, you can remove all the stuff from these bolts right here. There's Torx bolts. The ones for the controls and this trim piece are a T20, and then these are probably a T30, and these are actually for the clock spring, which we're gonna have to replace on that one as well. Alright, so now we're gonna go ahead and remove this clock spring to put it on the other wheel. These are all T30 bolts, 1, 2, 3. I would recommend removing the trim first, that way you have better access to them. Now we gotta remove that small Torx. It is a T10. Alright, so now this is the M3 wheel. As you can see, this came off of an SMG, so it has the SMG paddles. I am not actually wiring them in today. So these wires right here, we will not be using them, but we're going to just go ahead and keep it on here for now. But yeah, so these are for the SMG paddles. So we're going to go ahead and put the clock spring from the other wheel on here. And the reason that I'm actually changing the clock spring, because this wheel was in, the car that it came off of had a collision, and the front airbag had popped out, which is why that clock spring actually popped off. And so we're just going to go ahead and put the one from the old steering wheel on. That way we don't have to worry about that. Alright, so these springs on both sides, they have to line up with the bulge that's sticking out right here, right across from the bolt. Yeah. Now that we have that tightened, we're going to go ahead and put these ground cables back on. Alright, now we have both of those cables on, and this is for the SMG paddles, which we're not using, and these are for the airbags, and this one plugs in to the little plugs right here on the back. Now we're going to go ahead and put this trim back on. These are T20 bolts. Alright, so now what you have to do, you have to line up the steering wheel with the mark that's on this column right here. You have to mark it up with that line. The steering wheel also has that same line. So the steering wheel line is right here. And push it in. The groove should line up. Just like that. Now we're going to go ahead and plug everything back in. Now that's plugged in. Be careful when you're putting these back in so you don't break the tabs. And once you have it in, then you push the top tabs in. Alright, so make sure this is sitting all the way in. And then get the 16mm bolt. And tighten. Now that's in. And we're just going to push the airbag in. And as you can see, these two tabs will line up with the springs and it'll push right in. Now go ahead and plug your battery back in, and you should be able to turn it on, and you'll see there should be no airbag lights. And just make sure all your controls and everything work, and you're good to go. Alright, so that's it for the DIY, guys. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below. This wheel really does make a huge difference on the way that the car drives, well, at least how it feels when you're driving. It makes it feel just more comfortable. The steering wheel's a lot thicker. I mean, they're available all over eBay. So like I showed you, if you already have a sports steering wheel, you can get the wheel that has, like, it's got the busted clock spring, or the buttons are messed up or something like that. The main things you're gonna need the actual wheel itself, and you're gonna need this trim piece right here, because you cannot reuse the trim from the sport wheel. And if you have the standard wheel, then you're gonna need all of this pretty much, the airbag and everything. So just make sure you guys look at whatever you're buying, make sure everything's good, and thank you guys for watching. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below.